Hello, everyone. I wanted to give you your week 3 announcement early in light of the fact that we're going to have winter weather over the weekend that will affect a lot of you. I really hope that you and your families and friends remain safe and as warm and well fed as possible. I know there is a big chance of power outages in my area and probably in your areas as well, since this is going to be so widespread. So, knowing that there may be power outages, um, please know that I will be flexible in terms of the work that's due next week and the new assignments that are coming up for week 3. So, getting right into week 3, the topic for the week is hematopoietic function. And just like every other week, there's a page where you can see the objectives and the assignments. So go ahead and take a look at that while you can, when you can. And then under assignments and activities, this is the first time you will have a voice thread discussion. So I wanted to give you a little bit of guidance on that. As usual, you'll have the quiz. But in terms of the voice thread discussion, first you can go into the Google document that I have linked here, Hematologic Case Studies and Questions for Voice Thread Discussion, and read through the case studies that are fully provided. I have them provided on pages 1 through 5. Select 2 of the case studies that interest you the most, and then select a question to answer. And you just select your question by highlighting and putting a comment and then typing your name into that comment. And then you would just click comment to put the comment there. And that will be the way you claim that question. You will work on that question to post on VoiceThread. So you pick one and then you pick a second one. I'm just going to undo that because I don't want to take a question away. So once you've done that and you do your work, make sure that in doing your work that you look closely at the assignment instructions and grading rubric that are linked right below that Google document. And you'll see that generally speaking, you should provide your initial posts. So in the 2 case studies, the question you're answering, you'll provide those posts by Thursday. So that's next Thursday at 9 a.m. And then you need to respond to 2 classmates' initial posts by the following Monday at 9 a.m. I wanted to also point out that if there are no questions remaining by the time you get to this document and there's no question for you to claim, that an alternative way to post would be to make a comment that is meaningful and that extends the conversation about the case study in a unique way, and that utilizes the resources that are required for the assignment. So each initial post and response post should demonstrate deep reflection and synthesis of ideas from the course textbook, other course resources, and an outside peer-reviewed article, as well as your clinical experience. You should verbally cite the sources that you use using APA formatting. So if you are using a scholarly article written by Smith, Jones, and Wells, and it was published in 2025, you would say, according to Smith et al. 2025, and then you would make your statement that you're attributing to that article. So for the initial posts, each post is worth up to 20 points. So the 2 together are up to 40 points. The response posts are each worth 17 points, up to 34 points total. Scholarship is up to 16 points, and timeliness is up to 10 points. To get the most points on the initial posts and the response post, you should make sure that you are first of all, completing the minimum number of required posts, and that you are addressing all aspects of the prompt you have selected, or if you are doing a unique comment because there are no more questions remaining for you to answer, that you are adding something new and substantive that extends the discussion. The more sources you use and cite, the more points you will get. At a minimum, you should cite at least one scholarly source. Like, for example, a peer-reviewed article published within the last 5 to 7 years would be an example of a scholarly source. Under scholarship, I'm looking for things like the verbal citations being correct following APA 7th edition formatting, and that you have included functional links to the peer-reviewed articles that you verbally cite. And also, I'm looking to make sure that when I go to the peer-reviewed article, that what the information you cited from them is actually something that they discovered that's in their results or findings section. If it's something that they put in their introduction or background and cited others for, that's not considered a primary source. So make sure that you're only attributing information to authors who actually discovered that information. And timeliness, for the initial posts, 5 points will be taken off each day for a late post. And if you do not submit the response posts by the time the discussion closes, you'll get 0 points for those response posts. This is the link to the actual VoiceThread platform. So you'll click into the hematologic VoiceThread discussion link. You'll click to get into the assignment content. And then hopefully you'll have your response written out and you will have rehearsed it. And then what you do is you add your comment by going to the lower left-hand side of the VoiceThread platform. You click on this comment bubble with a plus sign, and you either click a microphone, record an audio comment, or you click record a video comment. And either one is fine. And then once you have recorded your comment, you'll submit it, and then you can move on to your next one. Another thing to mention is that after you do your audio or your video comment, make sure that you do a text comment and that you enter the hyperlink or the live URL or DOI to any scholarly article that you verbally cite in that audio or video post. And then you'll just save that to the same slide. That way, when I listen to your audio post or I view your video post and you cite the article, I can go to your written comment and I can check that article. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I have put the pathophysiology paper instructions and grading rubric into this week's block so that you can look ahead and prepare and begin working on that assignment. You want to make sure that you thoroughly understand the instructions, that you reach out to me with your selected disease that you want to focus on for this assignment, and that you start looking for scholarly articles. You need to use 5 to 7 scholarly articles. The more the closer to 7 you use, the more points you'll get. These should be published within the last 5 to 7 years. And avoid using sources that are not credible or that are not scholarly. So avoid using patient-facing resources like WebMD, the Mayo Clinic, um, things like that. You want to use only peer-reviewed articles, professional guidelines, and credible websites for professionals. And just be really careful to pay attention to what what I'm expecting in terms of the sources that you use. And you want to make sure that information that you attribute to these sources is information that the authors of those sources actually discovered. So again, in their findings section, not information that they cited from others. The other really important part of this assignment that I wanted to point out in this video is that you should you should do your work on this paper in a Google document. So you have access to Google Forms and Google Documents through AppState. So create a Google document, and that way it'll record the history of your writing. Because if there's any indication of pasting of large blocks of content at one time into the Google document rather, that would be concerning for cutting and pasting from other sources. And that is what you want to avoid doing. Questions about or concerns about large blocks of content being copied and pasted, or writing that is without any edits from the very beginning. There's no sign of any kind of organic development where you've made changes and edits over time, are concerning for use of other sources, content, plagiarizing, or using artificial intelligence. So make sure that you begin your work in a Google document that will record the history of your writing. And if that clear history is showing, that will indicate, that will be less concerning. Any concerns that are very strong for use of other content, like plagiarizing or using artificial intelligence to write large blocks of content, could result in an academic integrity inquiry. Okay, I just want to reiterate that I know that the weather is going to be bad this weekend. I know that some of us will lose power, and this may delay our ability to get work done. So you can reach out to me as soon as you are able to let me know if you are having difficulty completing any work and need extensions. All right, the most important thing is to stay safe, as warm as you can, have enough food and water, and make sure that you and your family are not getting out on the roads if at all possible. I will check in with you all next week. I plan to hold office hours on Tuesday, January 27th, 7 p.m., unless we don't have power. But I will do my best to stay in touch. All right, you all take care, and I hope to see you next Tuesday.